Does Man's Best Friend versus a Demonic Presence give you the ultimate POV horror experience, or is it time for this style of filmmaking to be put down for good? Spoiler alert, if you have not seen this movie, bookmark this video and come back to it, otherwise you've been forewarned. So let's talk about dogs in horror movies. So dogs are no stranger to the horror genre. They've been in probably over 100 movies, with roles ranging from, the terrifying Cujo all the way to like the zombie Doberman from Resident Evil, to the tragic death of Sadie in The Conjuring, and even frightened family pets like E-Buzz and Poltergeist. Good Boy likes to build upon that pedigree by offering a movie totally told from his perspective. So, as I said, Good Boy builds on the recent trend of horror films shot entirely from a single character's point of view. In 2024's In a Violent Nature, the viewpoint is taken totally from the killer's perspective, while in 2025's Presence, it's seen from the viewpoint of a ghost. Though not new to the genre, as early examples like Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho and later films such as Halloween and Friday the 13th also featured some scenes from the antagonist's perspective. This modern take feels like an evolution of that idea, though. This style also recalls some from the earlier camcorder era horror boom popularized by films like The Blair Witch Project and Record. So let's get into a kind of a history of Man's Best Friend, because that's kind of what this movie is trying to set up. Perspective of the dog, but in relationship to his owner. So the bond between humans and dogs goes back tens of thousands of years. Scientists believe dogs were first domesticated from gray wolves between 20,000 and 40,000 years ago, when early humans and wolves formed a mutually beneficial relationship. Wolves helped with hunting and protection, while humans provided food and shelter. Over time, these cooperative wolves evolved into the loyal companions we now know today. Ancient civilizations such as those in Egypt, Greece, and China even honor dogs as protectors or sacred animals, and archaeological evidence shows that humans were burying dogs alongside them as early as 15,000 years ago. By the 19th century, though, people began selectively breeding dogs for specific roles and traits, leading to the hundreds of breeds we see today. In the modern world, dogs serve as family members, working partners, and sources of comfort, a lasting testament to why they truly have earned the title of man's best friend. In relation to Todd and Indy, they exemplify this bond in their relationship. During the opening credits, we see a montage showing Indy from the time Todd becomes his owner, growing from a puppy into the dog we see at the time of the movie taking place. The sequence highlights a deep connection between them, showing how Indy serves as both a companion and a support system for Todd, who lives alone and is coping with a serious medical condition. Something else I want to talk about was demons or death. So the movie presents the antagonist as a supernatural or demonic presence targeting Todd and Indy, even hinting at this through old black and white TV broadcasts of horror movies and documentaries that explore the history of the area Todd lives in, showing how surroundings like caves can be home to dark entities. Thousands of years ago, early humans used cave art for rituals, burials, and even them a mysterious, almost sacred quality. Across cultures, caves were often considered gateways to the world of dwellings from demons and spirits, from Greek myths about Hades' underworld to Japanese legends of Oni lurking in hidden places. The documentary also presents dogs as protectors and guides against dark forces within the caves, foreshadowing what will unfold in the movie. While it's possible that the entity Todd and Indy confront is a demon, considering Todd's medical history and the fact that his family has lived and died in the house for 6 generations, it seems more likely that the entity could be death itself. Todd's grandfather didn't live very long and may have returned to the house when he sensed his own ending approaching, though the film doesn't explicitly state this. Todd, clearly suffering from a serious medical condition, has moved back to his family home in the middle of nowhere to spend his last days, with death growing stronger and more relentless in its pursuit. I did want to talk about how this movie definitely gets you into your dog feels. Because the movie is from Indy's perspective, we clearly get to see the emotions he goes through. Doesn't matter if you're a dog lover, pet owner, or neither, this movie will definitely have you worried for Indy and even feel saddened for him at certain parts due to the presence affecting Todd throughout the movie and the direct interaction the presence has with Indy. Even the smallest things, like when you get to see him worried for Todd or sad that he is gone for the day, it gets you in your feelings for him. Okay, more specifically about Indy. Indy and his owner deserve a reward for his performance. He is so obedient, commanding in his performance, that he sometimes does a better job at acting than a real person does. You know he's just a dog, but the emotion and expression he's able to deliver as a dog is definitely impressive, and not something I could expect my own dog to do. As far as some more details about his training, director Ben Lindbergh and producer Carrie Fisher, who also serve as Indy's owners, shared insights with Filmmaker magazine into the training process that brought Indy to the screen in Good Boy. Initially, Indy was not intended for a film career. He was adopted simply as a companion. However, his natural intelligence and expressive demeanor led Leonberg to consider him for the role of the film's protagonist. Training was conducted primarily through positive reinforcement techniques, utilizing treats and consistent cues to elicit desired behaviors. Leonberg emphasized that Indy had no formal movie training prior to this film, and the production team relied on a combination of home training and the Kilsov effect to produce Indy's very affecting performance. Filming spanned over 3 years, crazy, with over 400 shooting days due to the limited working hours a dog can endure. To maintain realism during scenes requiring emotional connection, Leonberg and Fisher physically stood in for actors, allowing Indy to naturally follow their lead for the specific moods conveyed. This approach ensured that Indy's performance remained authentic and grounded in his real-life bond with his owners. So let's talk about what I did and didn't like. So what I liked: not seeing Todd's face. I appreciate the movie tries to keep the focus on Indy throughout the whole movie, despite the movie really being about Indy's reaction and interaction with what is happening to his owner, Todd. For most of the movie, we only see Todd from the chest or waist down, or when he's in headshots, it's darkened enough so we can't really see his face in detail. As Todd's illness gets more fatal and progresses, his face becomes more and more apparent, but never the focus of the scene, and I really appreciated that. I did also like Indy's dreams and interaction with the presence. As Indy has more time in the house, he gets to know more of the backstory of what has occurred prior to Todd and him arriving, especially what happened with the previous dog. It's not clear if the entity is showing Indy his fate or if it's the dog's spirit showing Indy as a warning. Either way, the sequences where Indy has to relive the history of some of the best scenes in the movie, in my opinion. So I thought this was pretty clever. Using the TV and his sister Vera's cell phone calls to help progress the story forward. So the movie has a smaller runtime at 1 hour and 13 minutes, and while I was worried about that at first, I think the movie does a creative job in using other ways of providing information to progress the story forward. The movie utilizes Todd's TV and his phone calls with his sister Vera to share information about the entity and Todd's health history with the audience without it taking time that the movie doesn't have to give. And finally, the Indy rescue sequence. So, the best scene I think of the whole movie, in my opinion, was the rescue sequence before the third act, where Todd ties Indy up to the doghouse outside. Once Indy sees that Todd is starting to succumb to his illness and the entity is trying to claim him, Indy springs into action. The entity tries to stop him, but ultimately Indy is able to escape into the basement, I believe with the help of the previous dog, and get up to Todd to be there with him before the entity drags him down to the basement for the final third act. There wasn't really anything I disliked about the movie, but I'd love to hear your thoughts down below of what you liked and disliked. Alright, so my final thoughts and review for Good Boy. My theater was almost sold out, which was good since my theater had very limited show times, really. Taylor Swift, The Rock, and Leonardo DiCaprio took more of the screens and show times. I don't think very many people were aware of what kind of movie Good Boy was going into it. I think most people who came to see it were really walk-up business, or maybe just a general horror movie crowd. There were a few people who ended up leaving during parts of the movie, especially not too long after Todd moves into his grandfather's house. Again, I don't think they knew it was going to be a horror movie from a dog's perspective. So, my final thought. It looks like third time's a charm, as Good Boy delivers emotion, thrills, and scares far more effectively than fellow point-of-view horror movies like In a Violent Nature or Presence. Experiencing the story from Indy's perspective not only makes you more invested in him as a character, but also heightens the impact of the scares and suspense, making them all the more frightening, proving that this point-of-view style of filmmaking still has plenty of bark and bite. And I give Good Boy 4 out of 5 Indies. Hopefully I'll have that by the time this is edited. If not, I'll find some of the picture. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about my review. If you have seen Good Boy, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe and give it a thumbs up. I'm trying to do 31 videos for the 31 days of Halloween, where I do a video every 31 days of October. So make sure you keep tuned for that. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on The Mashup.